What's up, everybody? Happy Thanksgiving from Bubba Shot the Podcast. Me and the boys hope that you and yourn have a good one. And we hope you're counting your blessings. I'm counting my blessings right now. I'm sitting here fully nude, other than my vintage Bill Elliott cap. It's rad. We have an all cotton blend office chair. I'm grateful for that. If it was leather, my balls would be sticking to it. Yeah, I'm counting my blessings, and we want you to be counting your blessings today. That is the theme of today's episode and song. Count your blessings. First blessing right off the bat, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm filming this from the chest up. Yeah, you ain't got to look at all that gross stuff. So count those blessings. Enjoy this. See you soon.
Bubba Shot the Podcast, and that's right, a show about country at a time.
What's up, fellas? And what's up, Bubbas and Bubbettes alike out there listening? It's Bubba Shot the Podcast. First of all, the facts. We are doing Thank God for You by Sawyer Brown, a request made by Trey Crowder, a man who usually does not thank God for anything, specifically existing. The song was written and released in 1993.
Curse God, baby.
Curse God. That's their second song. Sawyer Brown would not like if you curse God. I think they've gone full Christian now, but we're not going to get into that much today. June 1993. This was the lead single from their album Outskirts of Town. It was not Sawyer Brown's first album. As always, go listen to the song right now. This song did reach #1 in the Billboard Hot Country charts and on the Canadian chart. They always include that in these Wikipedias as if anyone gives a shit. It was written by Mac McAnally. What a great name. It's got anal in it.
He's a big deal, ain't he?
Mac McAnally is a pretty big deal as a producer, songwriter. He's had his own, I think he's put out, I looked it up, 10 albums, I think it was, himself. He's had a few hits, but most of his success has come as a producer and songwriter for both Jimmy Buffett and I guess this is not a coincidence now that I think about it, Kenny Chesney. Two of Kenny Chesney's biggest hits were not just written by Mac McAnally, they were actually covers. And one of them specifically surprises the hell out of me. Back Where I Come From, which we were probably doing this podcast unless it came out in 2000, which it may have, by Kenny Chesney, is a cover, which blows my mind.
What?
I think they changed a few lyrics with the East Tennessee. You know, I'm an East Tennessean.
Yeah, dude, that song. Phew.
I know it.
Growing up in Clay County, and that song was just like the anthem, the undeniable anthem. I never knew that was a cover either. That's wild.
Well, today we are doing Thank God for You by Sawyer Brown. Sawyer Brown's one of my favorite 90s bands. If I'd have had my druthers, so we were looking for a song that was a little bit Thanksgiving themed. Yeah. And I had a much worse suggestion until Trey came through with this banger. We were going to try to work in Great Day to Be Alive, which is kind of a song about being grateful, but Travis Tritt put it out in 2000, so it would have been cheating.
Yeah, well, you found a loophole. Apparently, it was a Daryl Scott song originally.
Well, yeah, kind of like Mac McAnally.
Yeah, right. I never knew that either, but apparently the original Great Day to Be Alive came out in 1997. But I do feel like even that would have been a little bit of cheating because the version that everybody knows is the Travis Tritt version, which came 100%. Out in 2000. So
I've been to Daryl Scott's farm on the outskirts of it because he's heavily involved in what's that? Hippie Jacks Festival. He lives right by where that happens.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's right. That's back where I come from. That's, right. Hippie Jacks is the neighboring county to where I grew up. It's very close.
Well, yeah. So what I was going to say, he's tight with that guy. And all I was going to say is I've been to the farm that Travis Tritt paid for by making that song a hit because it was huge. Well, Let's get into Sawyer Brown. My favorite Sawyer Brown song is definitely Some Girls Do.
Some Girls Do.
This is probably my second favorite.
Yeah.
And I brought up Some Girls Do for a specific reason. I want to start with the video. Have you guys watched the video?
Yeah, I finally did this week. I remembered to watch the video. I found it humorous.
It's a little homoerotic.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I was actually on the phone, but I had it like geared up to watch. And so I just played it without any music. And that's shit so funny. Because at one point it's like, okay, they rented out a space and they're just, they're giving it its all and it's kind of choreographed and it's fun. And at one point he gets a towel and he throws. He plays with the towel, and he puts a little
he flips one guy in the butt.
Yeah.
And then covers another guy's head.
Yeah. Well, that's just classic locker room antics right there. There's nothing gay about that. That's homosexual at best.
I would say most, and you may be being ironic on purpose. I would say most locker room antics are homoerotic.
It felt like the editor just left in some bloopers as kind of a gag. Like you didn't have to add those parts, and it could have held its own.
About his dancing. And them light tight blue jeans. He's got the Springsteen jeans on. He's got a Phillies shirt tucked in, which he ain't from Philadelphia.
Yeah, that was a wild choice, I thought. You got to go Braves, I would think.
Totally.
I don't know. They feature his dancing very prominently throughout the video. That's really all. It's clearly like they didn't have a huge budget for the video. Like Tushar said, they rented out of space. It's like lightly choreographed. They kind of just are in this space jamming, and there's a couple of women's there just because the song is about women's.
But there's two women's, which we're going to get to. And he sings this song about both of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but he just kind of dances around, and it's like some of it I was laughing at, and some of it I was like, I don't know. I feel like he kind of toes a line between like, it's not like it's utter incompetence. It's just like, dance. Yeah, but it's like, but the style and everything, it's both funny and like, okay, you're doing something, you're doing a thing there.
Well,
a little chair move. He did the little chair move where you step up on the top of it and ride it to the ground or whatever,
Buddy, when he jumped up on that cooler, I about died. I thought he was going to fall.
Right. So it's like, this
He's
guy's like
Florida.
It's a very this dude's a performer,
Yeah.
Like in there was an old school sense.
Everybody knows a white guy from Florida, and that's where Mark Miller's from, who can dance a little bit. And I think that he had like real 1998 spring break at Club La Vila vibes, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
He definitely had of all the singers that we've listened to on the show, he was the one that I would want to like hang out and have a beer with. He would be just the best. It feels like he'd be the best time. No,
lately,
I mean, a Christian
Brown is definitely taking a turn.
Christianness aside.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's hard to put the Christianness aside with most Christians. I don't know what's up with them today. Apparently Drew does, and it's unfortunate because you hate for anybody who rocks to ever find Jesus, but I agree. Also, like he took his hat off at one point and he's kind of balding. So I imagine he just straight bald at this point, but like that added a little element to it. It's like I probably would have left the hat on, I guess, because he's being very, he's being very smooth and sexual and putting all his moves on display at one point, and then just I don't know for him being like kind of impressive while also being funny. It really fits that whole motif when he takes the hat off and he's like also balding. It just played. Yeah,
and
right.
I think that this was whoever came up with this being attempting to make that his thing was correct to do so. All right. I have a theory that I've come up with on Sawyer Brown doing my research for this. First of all, if you go back to the 90s, men in country were getting away from the sexy for the most part. I mean, Brooks and Dunn, they had the feathered hair and the tight jeans. Everybody had the tight jeans. Dwight Yoakam was sexy, but he was like Hollywood kind of. It was like, well, Dwight went out to California, so he's allowed to have sex. And everyone else was kind of doing, there wasn't no Conway Twitty. You know what I mean? Like that space was no longer occupied. Their other first single that they did a music video was Some Girls Do. And I brought that up earlier for a reason, not just because it's my favorite Sawyer Brown song. The whole song is what you just touched on, Trey. It's like being impressive, but also goofy. Yeah. The whole song and video, and we'll do that one in a later episode, is, I'm not for every girl. A lot of girls don't like me, but hey, buddy, some girls do.
Right.
And the whole thing was like, all girls like you. You're a fucking country music singer who's pretty good looking on a video, but what you're doing, and we've talked about this before, is making girls feel like you're accessible. You're the hot guy who's not too far out of reach.
Well, it also
I
is
think they
making
were.
dudes, just like country boy dudes,
Yep.
feel like, I hit for some
Yeah.
dumb chicks.
I mean, that's why I use it as my walk-up music.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I choose it as my walk-up music at most well-read shows. Is listen, I know what I am, but some people they got a thing for
Some
guys.
people are into it. Did you find anything in reading about this I always, as a kid, up until like relatively recently, I always thought Sawyer Brown was just the name, Mark Miller's name.
It's not?
No, right. That's just that's the name of the band, but it feels like a very
Okay. So before
very
we move on to that,
specific
I just want to say
decision.
that I do think it was a specific decision. Before we move on to that, to finish out this theory, I think they were trying to make Mark that guy. I think that this was all on purpose. This dancing, that was what they were attempting to go for. I think they were trying to make him hot and like what's the word I'm looking for? A heartthrob. I'm not sure it worked. I think Billy Ray Cyrus came through and just obliterated the whole lane. But yes, we're going back to their name. I have read this before, and I have forgotten the answer, but there is an answer.
That Sawyer Brown is the name of the band.
Yeah, it's not the name of any of the guys that are in the band. It's just the name of the band, which I didn't know forever. I just always assumed Sawyer Brown was like George Strait or Clint Black or whatever, but it ain't.
I'm going to look it up because it's not in their Wikipedia, but I have read this before.
He kind of looked like, in the video at some points, he looked like Michael Keaton to me.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit like generic white man face.
He's got Michael Keaton, and as he's aged, he looks like Michael Bolton. So they were Don King's road band, and Sawyer Brown Road is close to where they grew up. So it's a little bit like Leonard Skinner, which is funny because they're from a similar part of Florida.
Yeah, but I guess because it sounds – I never ever thought Leonard Skinner was – like Robbie Van Zant's name or anything. You know what I mean?
Did you say Robbie Van Zant?
Ronnie Van Zant. Sorry, Ronnie Van Zant's name.
We should make a Robbie Van Zant character who's an illegitimate child of his.
Yeah.
He's just Florida trash. He's got a skateboard and a meth habit.
Well, we weren't recording earlier when I told y'all that I had the COVID booster shot, and I'm going to blame it on that, lest my father and papa return from the grave and smite me for shaming my family name for saying the wrong name when talking about Leonard Skinner. Anyway, I never thought Leonard Skinner was a dude. Like, I was surprised to find out that was a person, even though he wasn't in the band. Their gym teacher or music teacher or something like that. Leonard Skinner was his name.
It was a gym teacher, but it also became I don't know what the word is. You know how we say hits?
Yeah.
It became one of their things. So that guy was a hard ass and was hard on him. And he would say stuff that didn't make sense, apparently, when he got mad. So if somebody was doing that, they'd be like, he's going Leonard Skinner on us.
All right.
And, yeah.
Okay, so Sawyer Brown Road.
Sawyer Brown Road. That's it. They were Don King's road band.
So Sawyer Brown presumably that was a dude. He was probably like the mayor of that wherever they grew up at or whatever the fuck. I'm sure Sawyer Brown Road is named after some old racist, I'm sure.
I was about to say a racist or a slave, dude, down there in the part of Florida that had plantations. It was either the guy who owned the plantation or like the guy they killed on that road back in the day.
Might have been a gator man,
That's good.
What's a gator man?
Prominent local gator man,
Gator man.
Right? Down there in Florida, you got to have gator man. They wrangle gator. You got a gator problem. Who you going to call to, Char? You're going to call the gator man.
You got a plumber, electrician.
He's a gator gut buster. Who are you going to call?
Gator man.
There's probably a companies, using that using that term loosely.
Yeah.
There's probably
don't say that. The government don't know.
Yeah, there's an outfit somewhere in the Everglades called Gator Busters. I about guarantee it.
Yeah, Robbie Van Zant is the CEO of Gator Busters.
Gator Busters.
And we're gonna have a whole series created by the end of this episode, boys. Well, let's get to some lyrics. We're almost 15 minutes in. We haven't even started on this song's lyrics. Well, I've been called a self-made man, Girl, don't you believe it's true? I know exactly how lucky I am when I'm getting this close to you. It's high time I'm giving some praise to those that got me where I am today. And then we got the hook, and it's a great hook. I got to thank Mama for the cooking, Daddy for the whooping, the devil for the trouble that I get into. I got to give credit where credit is due. I thank the bank for the money. Thank God for you. Now, when I was little and this came out and I didn't, know about love or none of that bullshit, I thought he was literally thanking God for the bank.
Okay.
No,
he says, I thank the bank for the money. Thank God for you.
It was the last
right.
thing.
I think he's like saying, I thank the bank for the money. Thank God for them. Thank God for you, bank.
Okay. Well, I mean, kids are dumb, so sure,
It's the phrase. It's the way the rhythm of the song goes. There's no.
Well, there's some. It's
a run-on sentence. God damn it.
There's some real, real insights into our culture, I think, in the chorus of this song here. Like you've got Mama for the cooking, because that's all Mama does is cook and clean, and everybody knows
does something else later.
Yeah, right. Yes, you're right. And then Daddy for the whooping. I wouldn't be the man I am today if I didn't get abused as a child by my father, who was probably a drunk.
Dude, that's so funny. DJ and I were talking about the Amish earlier on Into the Biscuit, listening to the Biscuit podcast, and how old men, now that the Amish are in my area, old men will romanticize what is just child abuse. They'll be like, man, they got 5-6-year-olds working in their sawmills. One of them ain't even got a finger. He don't even care. I'm like, what did you just say? It's the same thing with, we do it to ourselves. Like I got hit as a child. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. Dude, I used to, before I had my own kids, I 100% was like, hell, it's good for them. Like I used to think that until I had my own kids, and I was like, it don't feel right just beating the shit out of this, which I didn't do. I'm saying, so I didn't do that because I was like, oh, this would be fucked up to physically assault this small child. And I did a complete 180. Before I had kids, though, I was like, that's fucking bullshit. World's going soft. Like, how else are they going to learn? God damn it. I got whooped and I turned out fine. All that shit. I used to do all that shit.
You shouldn't have kids at 17 or 18 or whatever.
I mean, I was 24, but
but that's a leap. Them 6 years.
Yeah, 17, 24 is a huge difference, but that's kind of the point. I'm saying I still very much thought all that shit, but having actual children changed that.
I think I thought it till I hit my dog.
Yeah, so
if you can't hit a dog, you should. If you believe in your heart you shouldn't hit a dog, then you shouldn't hit a kid.
I also, I've had so many country boy buddies who swore by just whooping a dog's ass, boy. I remember one of them, he used to say,
why?
Pain to train it. Like they were like, that's the only way to train a dog is to beat its ass. They used to say pain retains is what one of them used to say all the time while he was whipping his dog.
Animal rules.
Yeah, just beating the shit out of it, dude. It's like that's the only way they'll learn.
All right, Tushar, I want to hear about they call that corporal punishment. Is that the psychological phrase for that?
Corporal punishment. Yeah.
India, what do you got? Corporal punishment, big thing, not a big thing? You guys beat your slaves, I know that.
We have slaves. The abuse comes, I think, in the form of when I would go back to India as a kid, I would watch my uncles treat the servants like they would just get fed up, and it would just be the same thing that you do with a dog. Eventually, you're like, God damn it! How many times have I told you? And so there's a physical beating, but that psychological beating is it's heavy, it weighs heavier in the air than the physical beating and to some degree.
Oh yeah. What about children?
Like parents,
children, you hit. And I think in India, education is such a big part of the economy. There's so many schools and there's so many people wanting to go to school and there's so much work to be done and all that stuff that it's a real business there. And so I think the teachers there have more power. Here it's flipped in the last 20 years, ever since we were in school. When we were in school, the teachers had like
paddles
and
with
the
names.
and the parents
They
would get
named
it.
them.
Yeah.
They would also put names on the paddles, or like I would like drill a hole into the paddle for every child.
Personalized it.
They whooped. Yeah, right.
Which made it hurt.
Wild shit.
It's like the hits that you put on a football helmet, you know, the stars.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we got that.
That's
fucking so wild, man. But it's true. Yeah.
Like a serial killer.
Yeah.
But there's a certain amount of trust there, I think. In terms of, I think there's capital. I should know this, but there is like, you know, there's capital punishment in India, so you could get death penalty. But I'm sure there's a long, crowded line. Everyone's all jammed up to get murdered.
For the murder clip.
For the murder.
Pushed off of. Yeah.
To get back to the song real quick, the one part of this that I love when anyone does is when you blame the devil for bad things.
Yes, I was gonna. That's the next part. It's like that's also a huge part of the culture. It's like all the bad stuff I do. That's actually the devil that's making me do that.
Yeah.
But he's like, what hits about this is he's being grateful for that. He's like, you know, all them kick-ass times I had, railing all them whores and getting drunk and fucking all that. Thank you, Satan, because that all hit for me. It's sort of
I got away with it.
The context in which he uses it, which is great in my opinion.
It's also a trope in our culture too, and I like how he sort of flips it a little.
Yeah, right, for sure. I do wonder what you think, Drew, about the bank line, because I kind of feel like it's more of a trope in our culture to shit on the bank or hate the bank. You know, the bank man is the bad guy or whatever. Like I feel like it acting like the bank hits is like this is coming out of the 80s, I guess.
And not only that is that he's closing it with, I mean, the reason that Drew thought it was he's thanking the bank because it was the last thing he says. He didn't close with his girl or, you know, like any of his mama. He didn't close with any of that stuff. It was like the bank and then thank God.
Well, man, he does close with his girl. He thanks everybody else for all this other shit. And then the last thing is thank God for you. And he's talking to his woman. But again, in the video, there's two of them, which is funny.
But, we'll get to that with the two of them. I do want to talk about this bank thing. I have a lot of thoughts. You are correct that there's a big trope of not trusting the bank, not liking the bank. Now, I will say some of that comes from like not being able to get a loan from the bank when the farm's going under, or not being able to get more time. So also the bank used to be a less nationalized thing, I think, in the South, or at least in people's minds. I don't know if it was ever true, but like Mayberry and that whole thing, it was like there was the town banker and you wouldn't go in and it wasn't as formalized. It was always he had a feeling, you know, it was like, this is how much it makes and I'll work hard. And it was kind of up to him to give you a loan or not. It wasn't quite as regimented. So I feel like it comes from that. Like the bank man is a neighbor who believed in me. And so I think him, you know, but it says bank. It doesn't say bank man. But secondly, there's a thing in the South, and it's happened with cops. It's happened with jobs. And it's happened, I guess, with banks. Clearly, here's some evidence of it, where we lost a huge part of these motherfuckers ain't to be trusted, and they don't like us, and we don't like them. There's a huge thing in the South, and it probably started in the 90s right now, of being leery of unions and not trusting unions. There's a huge thing in the South of loving cops. And hell, I guess there's a huge thing in the South of being like, thank God the bank is exploiting us.
I don't know. I mean, the cops thing, you know, I used to have a whole bit about that. That's definitely a true and disappointing turn of events. But
the union thing is too, man. Right to work.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that for sure. That too. But I feel like this is just like they needed another thing in the lyrics of the song.
Right.
And it's like money is a good thing to be grateful for.
But he can't be rich on his own. He's got to be a working man. Everybody's got a mortgage.
It also does, the lyrics do a kind of interesting thing. I give credit where credit is due, then talk about the bank. So the bank gave me credit. Like it kind of, it's kind of really great like lyric structure in that way because it flows. But yeah, I feel like it was maybe thought of while writing, be like, oh, what else? rather than this is what I feel or something
Well,
like that.
Right.
I don't know what the prime mortgage lending market was doing in 1993. I mean, look, dude, I haven't turned into a full-on communist yet. I teeter ever closely every day. But, like, I could see someone, even, a country person in a healthy society, like, yeah, I'm really glad I got this mortgage. I don't have $200,000 lying around, and this is a fair deal. I don't know. I'm trying to – probably just what you said, Trey. It's probably just like, well, we need another line.
It just occurred to me that we haven't explained why Cho ain't here. So he's on his way to Iowa to be battered by the wind and eat a shitload of corn or whatever. That's where all his in-laws are from, and it's Thanksgiving week. So that's what that's about. I just felt like at some point we should address it, lest people ask the question.
Well, it is our Thanksgiving episode. We're talking about what we're grateful for. So, yeah, I guess we should have mentioned up top that we're grateful for Cho. Wish he was here. Oh.
I miss him.
Shit. Can you guys hold the fort down for 2 seconds? I got to answer this. It's my mechanic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Why not? Go for it.
Thank God for you. Well,
just what's your, I don't know, what did you think about this song and or the video?
I don't know. The first time I saw it on mute was incredible.
Yeah.
And then you added the lyrics, and it was just such a feel good, hearty thing.
Yeah.
But every time he mentioned God or the devil or Lord, greater plan. The next lyric is going to be, I'm part of a greater plan. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Relax. There was part of it where I was like, oh man, this guy really had me going at the beginning. And then knowing now what I know about what it takes to film something. Yeah. Right. Like if I was watching this through young eyes and I didn't know how things are filmed, the video is just almost sad. Like that was a sad day of filming to me. Like, like there was something about it where like, oh, there's not even people there. And,
it was very
but that's
shoestringy, not a whole lot to it. They got a couple of ladies to show up. They put the band in there and had them,
Where would you listen to a song like this? Is this a family song? Like this is everyone, because this seems like a family friendly Disney song. And as far as country songs go too.
I mean, dude, I feel like most of them were that. In the 90s, especially, none of them were very like risque or anything. And,
really?
I mean, I'm not
saying like gritty. There's like gritty ones or like things more about bitches than normal, but this was about like God and country, basically. Like this was like
well, there was a whole lot of that, but I like people used to listen to the radio, like, and this was my mom. Whenever I would be with my mom as opposed to with my dad, because my dad hated country music. But when I would be with my mom or with like friends of mine too, because it was such a huge thing, country radio would just be on and this song was just played on it. You know what I mean? Like, so
you got a lot of airtime. Yeah.
Anywhere and everywhere. Yeah. But all that God and Jesus stuff also super don't hit for me at all. But it's like, I just take it for granted when it comes to this type of music, because it was just all over the place with country music for so long.
Came off. I always have the rapper comparison. It almost came off as like a Mace.
Yeah,
he was like Mace.
Well, Mace found the Lord and lost his hittingness, in my opinion. That first Mace album, Harlem World. I know we're taking a bit of a detour here, but that's fine because it was a 90s rap album. That first Mace album, Harlem World, was the fucking shit, top to bottom bangers. It hit so hard. Mace was like, oh shit, this guy's going to be around for a long time. Right, and then he found the Lord and stopped hitting immediately and ain't never really hit since. So, what's that tell you? Whereas I feel like a lot of times artists, they'd stop hitting and then adopt the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a way to like cope with their failure or something.
Or coming back to earth.
It's also a place to make money and remain relevant in that world.
Oh, it's an inbuilt audience.
Yes.
Forever.
And you have a name. So I almost feel bad for people who genuinely want to make it in the Christian music world. But how the fuck do you compete with Mace?
Yeah.
I mean, you're already a fucking Christian rapper.
The other thing that I noticed when reading Sawyer Brown's Wikipedia is, and I'm not surprised by this, they were like, at the time, they were considered, I saw in quotes on their Wikipedia, like bubblegum pop of country music. Like they were like as poppy as it got back
That's
then.
why he was dancing.
And they got criticized for that a lot and everything. And I'm just saying, we go back to this argument all the time across all of the podcasts. We've done it on Well Read a bunch, but it's like, this was as poppy as country music got in the early 90s. And I feel like if you compare this to pop country today, Sawyer Brown is infinitely more country-ish, in my opinion, than fucking Marshmello, you know, or the other people that are fucking half-ass rapping on country radio today. You know what I mean? It's just wild the way that it's.
I wonder if that's why they covered George Jones. They have a really good cover of is it called The Races Zone? In the Races Zone. I wonder if that's why they did it. I could see that being like a label move. You know, they're accusing our boys of being too poppy. Well, we'll have them cover the most country some bitch there is. Anyway, let's finish these lyrics. I assume you guys did not while I was away being told how much I'm getting fucking reamed by Toyota right now. Second verse and second hook, which he switches a little bit. A strong heart and a willing hand, that's the secret to my success. A good woman, I try to be a good man. A good job, Lord, I know I've been blessed. I'm just part of a greater plan. It doesn't matter which part I am. Now, as the aforementioned Jesus stuff that don't hit for Trey aside, I do think there's a good message in this couplet, verse, whatever I'm supposed to call it, where he's saying he's taking a little bit of pride, but the good kind. I've got a strong heart and I'm willing, and that's the secret. And I've got a good woman and I've been blessed, and I know that whatever part I play, it's good enough for me. You know, there's humility, but also a little bit of pride there. But in the video, when he says the line, I try to be a good man, he sings that to the second woman. And that cracked me the fuck up. It was almost like he was like saying to all the old boys out there, look, dude, you've done your best. If you only cheated once, what the fuck, man?
Good job.
You've tried your best. For the record, Tushar is the one that brought up while you were gone. He mentioned all these Jesus-y lines in this verse and was talking about how that don't hit, and I was agreeing with him. But I just wanted him to get the credit for hating the Lord first.
Yeah, you got to give credit where credit is due.
That's right.
We think Tushar for the racism. That's why he's the one who said Jew.
Yeah. Roll Tide. I think the part I like about the second he said the part of a greater plan, my mind obviously, as my role on the podcast perhaps, was like, oh, this guy's giving a little nod to little Manifest Destiny. You know? Hey man, this is
the thing about that, the reason that's wrong is no good old boys know what Manifest Destiny is.
Doesn't matter.
Reference.
Yeah, it's in their blood, buddy.
No, they absolutely know it in practice, but I'm not sure they would hear that and think, maybe.
Yeah, well,
that's just what I thought.
White people are talking about a greater plan there in service of it. Probably ain't something that hits for anybody else, generally speaking.
But that's also true of Christians. Like when I hear a black Christian talking about a greater plan, I'm like, that's not going to hit for me.
Somebody getting subjugated or oppressed or whatever. Yeah, you'll have that. But it seems like on the subject of this verse and how sort of Jesus-y it is, maybe they was always like that. Like you've alluded to the fact that they're all super Jesus-y now, but maybe they were always kind of into that. I don't know. I mean, again, this stuff was always part and parcel to country music. I'm sure it probably still is. Jesus comes up a lot, so easily the least hitting part of the whole deal. But like, I don't like. Maybe there's some indicators here of their future aspirations vis-a-vis the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. And I was just looking to make sure that I was correct. Don King, who they were now, not the Black Don King. Don King, the country musician, who they were the road band for a long time, and he launched Don King Music Group. It ended up being one of the biggest studios in Nashville. I think they did a lot of Oak Ridge Boys. They did a lot of religious stuff, so they may even got their start because they were in that circle, that world.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do the second hook because he changes it up a little bit. Now, I don't know how y'all feel. I really like it when they change up a hook just a little bit. When it has the same basic structure, but we've got different stuff. This time we gotta thank Mama for the teaching, Daddy for the preaching, still the devil for the trouble that I get into. I gotta give credit where credit is due. I thank the bank for the money. Thank God for you. He gave Mama a new job.
Yeah.
This reminds me of my parents.
It's a little more credit than just, making a casserole or whatever.
She's cooking and teaching, and the daddy's whooping and preaching.
Whooping and preaching.
And the bank's still doing the same job.
Yeah. Yeah, this is your parents, Drew. How about that? I mean, this is a lot of people's parents, at this time and of that generation and whatnot. That's what I'm saying. It definitely fits.
There's a bunch of kids that got hit with Bibles. That's a fact.
I mean, it sure as hell ain't mine. These are one of them things.
No. What they hit you with, a bomb?
Shit.
You hit with the Bible? What does that even look like?
Well, I was making a joke about a preacher beating a kid, but I mean, it's a pretty thick book, and I don't know if you know this. You don't bruise if you get hit with a book.
We need to cover Vidalia by Sammy Kershaw in the future.
Hell yeah.
Because there's a line in there about that. Tushar needs some more Sammy Kershaw in his life. Yeah. We got to get around to Sammy Kershaw pretty soon.
Nothing's ever been true.
Ever since I've started to do this, I've said this a few times on the podcast, I think, but my YouTube suggestions are wild.
Yeah.
And they're wild, but especially after today, because I listened to a few and then it'll just be there in my feed forever. But sometimes when I'm listening to the Carter 3, I'm in it, and the next song will just get into The Gambler. Yeah, Kenny Rogers, which is kind of it's gangster. It is gangster. It's a gangster song.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
That's a gangster ass song.
It is from the Carter 3 to the Carter family.
Yeah.
I would like to hear a mashup of Ring of Fire and I don't know, Lick You Like a Lollipop or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
Hit them up and Ring of Fire. Go ahead if somebody has something. If not, I'll move on.
We can move on.
Okay. We're back to another 2-verse song. And I got to say, I again am pining for a third verse. I don't know if I've been trained to do that by the beginning, middle, end of Western storytelling, or that a lot of pop songs have 3 verses. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm not saying the story's not over. There's almost no story here. I mean, to be honest, we chose this one again because it is Thanksgiving, and this is a song about showing gratitude.
Thanking stuff for stuff.
But the story here is admittedly a little thin. I mean, we've got the backstory. He grows up in a family where his dad's a preacher and his mom teaches him and cooks, and he's got a woman and he's doing the best that he can. It's very relatable.
This song is really being thankful to the devil, primarily.
That's true.
For giving you all these things.
It's just about being thankful for just literally everybody for everything. Be thankful to both Satan and the Lord, as well as the bank and your parents and these whores.
Shout outs.
What?
I wonder if it created any controversy back then. You can't be thanking the devil.
Yeah, I don't know.
Your name should be Sawyer White.
But it's I think that it's definitely implied that he's enjoyed the trouble that he gets into for sure. But still, what he's saying is, all the bad things I do are because of the devil, which I feel like most Christians, it's one of those stupid things that they believe,
It's the best loophole in the game.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the smarter things they believe.
That's true.
That or the next dumbest / most brilliant thing would be the confessions.
You just got to say you're sorry and you're good.
Say you're sorry. It's fine. It's no biggie.
Yeah. That's a double-edged sword, though, because the fact that you have to be sorry for existing, which is a huge part of it, is like real gnarly. That's a gnarly thing.
Original sin is like a bad Black Mirror episode. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, you got to sacrifice my son to me because I'm mad and I can't forgive you for what you did.
The whole confession thing, is that just Catholics, or is there other types of Christians that also do that?
The confession thing is Catholics and I think the Anglican Church, which is a political offshoot of the Catholic Church, and Russian Orthodox, which is also a similar thing. But in Protestant churches, there's a similar, you are saved by asking God to forgive you, and then like, dude, you're in. Then, like, according to the faith I was raised in, guys, I'm in. Like, I'm fucking in.
You're in. Yeah, you got that.
Fucking rules.
You know the owner.
I know the owner's son personally.
Tushar.
He came in my heart.
Yeah.
We always ask about like this song and what the equivalent of this is in India or whatever. I mean, we kind of touched on
whatever is funny.
Beating slaves earlier.
Yeah, before you answer, the song that we're going to do next week, and we recorded them out of order. People are going to hear it next week, but we will have already recorded. You guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's like references to God in there too, so it's not just like shitty Christians doing it.
No. I don't think it's. I think it's. What else are you going to talk about?
Yeah, right. It's like it's like love, sex, God. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, what's the like? What would the Indian equivalent of this song be? Like, how would because it's just
gratitude, a big part.
Yeah, I think
thank Shiva for this, thank whoever for that. Like, it'd be a lot longer, wouldn't it? There'd be like 37 different.
Yeah, one verse per arm.
7,000 verses.
Yeah,
big one.
One verse per arm.
Hey, for finger. There's the. I'm trying to think. The song isn't really patriotic. There's a lot of patriotic songs in India that are kind of. I think in this line, I don't know them specifically, but I'm trying to think of like a Bollywood song, and there's this one really popular song called "Papa Kehte The," which is like my dad used to say that I'd be. It was just about his dad. So I'm thinking of songs that are about like moms and dads, but this one literally sprinkles the love everywhere, as you guys mentioned before. So it's hard to pin it down to a song, but the themes are universal, Yeah,
the theme is gratitude. It's like, and I gotta be honest, I like that. I think it's healthy to practice gratitude, and lots of religions or traditions tell you to do that. That's not just a Christian thing. Now, the Christians will get real militant about it. You've got to thank God every day for the breath in your body and worship at his feet and praise his holy name. And I'm like, dude, he sounds obsessed with me. That's weird.
Yeah. I think I like the fact that in the South growing up, church was such a big deal for all the people that I knew. They would go to church and they would all know each other from there. And from an outside perspective, I was like, thank God these guys have church. It seems healthy. Things would get real violent real quickly if they didn't have that.
We've talked about this before on the Well Read podcast. One thing I didn't really realize or appreciate is, don't get me wrong, there's a million churches in my tiny little hometown, Salina, Tennessee. But like growing up, most of my I used to talk about how Jesus was a big deal and whatever. But when I really stop and think about it, almost none of my friends actually went to or fucked with church. And I think it was and their parents didn't either. And I think it's because our town was.
That explains a lot.
Our town was abandoned by God. And left to rot. So, fuck him. That's not what any of them would actually say, but I'm just saying our town was ravaged by economic despair and pills and shit. And I know that's when a lot of people turned to the Lord, I guess, but also almost every single one of my friends, except for literally two out of my entire friend group all throughout high school and everything, 2 of them had parents who were together. All the rest of us were products of broken homes and whatever. And I feel like I'm making the case for the Lord here, which is not what I want to do. Because people hear all this, it's like, yeah, that's why you need Jesus. You kiss my ass, that don't help. But I'm just saying, like, it's I don't know. It's weird. Salina's weird and different in a lot of ways than the
As soon
sort of
as
like
they let prayer leave schools, that's when this country went down the way.
goddamn
Trey's talking
football
about.
team started sucking, Drew. Everything went to shit.
I
The
know.
football team used to be good, and then we couldn't win a game to save our lives. So,
Well,
it was just top to bottom not hits in Salina for years.
God
and still
doesn't
is,
play
but,
favorites, but he does know who his soldiers are, Trey.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
He still believes in you, Trey.
Sure.
He does.
Well, yeah, I hit. He should. Never given him a reason not to, really.
Exactly.
He loves your stuff.
Yeah.
and he takes credit for it. He's like, look what I made.
This is so given what you just said, Tushar, what was their attitude towards you and what you were doing? Were you you to be saved and proselytized to, or were they like, oh well, he does an Indian thing, that's what they.
How old were you when you got there?
3rd grade.
Did they try to get you to go to lock-ins?
There's probably 2 or 3 moments that stand out in my time. One as an adult, but a few were when I would be over at like a friend's place and they'd have me over for supper and we'd be eating steak and I'd be eating steak for the first time. And it would just become this topic of like, you ain't never had steak. So you go to the temple, or they get really inquisitive almost, but it's, the whole family's there, like brothers and sisters, like it's a whole audience. And I would have to kind of defend my Hinduism, which I didn't understand because it's all in a different language. It's 1,000 different things. I'm 3rd grade. We do these weird pujas, which I literally still don't really understand, but they're just ritualistic things.
Did they tell you you were going to go to hell?
I think I got told a few times that I'd go to hell, and it was very matter of fact and almost like cute. It was like, you're going to go to hell. I'm like, yeah. It is what it is.
It had no effect on you.
No, I didn't really, because I knew it was all, because I'm coming from Hinduism where we go to a temple once a month and we'd walk around a thing and a priest would put a bowl and touch my head and it symbolizes power. And then we'd bring fruits and the priest would do a little specialized prayer for us and then give us all fruit. Like none of it made sense to me. And then the church thing, I actually I listened to, you get exposed to church stuff when you're down there just by being around, like the Lord and he'll be there for us and all this stuff you overhear. And I was like, that sounds fucking just as dumb as the other stuff. Like none of it, the story doesn't make the Jesus story doesn't make sense to me. It's just as ridiculous as any other story in our catalog. But my dad's point of view was always like, Jesus is one of the Hindu gods and it's all the same. And there's no, it's very like open-ended kind of religion. So I was kind of born in kind of you don't really believe in this stuff actually.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Did you ever have any experiences with, like, Joe Zimmerman has a great bit about a girl he was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought she was interested in him, but she was just trying to save him. But like, I know that's the whole thing. Like the ritual of dating becomes wrapped up in the religion. Did you have anything like that as an outsider?
I didn't. I was fat.
Heard that,
I always forget.
Heard that.
It's like that. So my dating.
I know you as a ladies' man.
I don't know if they're turned off by the Indianness or the fatness. It's very confusing.
Column B. Yeah, the fatness wasn't doing any favors.
Favors.
I can speak personally to that.
Well, unlike Indian, it wasn't gonna make their dad mad.
Right.
I had one. Go ahead, Trey.
Well, I just think of like one of my favorite Simpsons jokes, and I know I ain't taking a stance on Apu here. This was more about Christianity, but it's one of my favorite Simpsons lines, which I imagine reflects some of the attitudes that were pointed towards you about religion. Is there was a scene where Reverend Lovejoy is like, there's a whole community around, and he's like, and we can all come together as one, whether you're Catholic and it shows, whatever, some character he's like, or Protestant, and it shows another character and he goes, and it shows Apu and he goes, miscellaneous. And Apu goes, I'm Hindu. There's 1 point whatever billion of us. And Lovejoy goes, well, isn't that special? like that's pretty, I feel like that kind of sums up a lot of, it's like, well, that's nice. That's nice and all, but we've got the real Lord and we all know it, but good for you.
There was a Simpsons episode. I don't know which religion they did it with. I think it was Hinduism, but Homer was like, man, it's like Apu, when they were handing out religions, did your family did your people just go to the bathroom or something? Like, did you miss the handing out of the religion? Damn, Simpsons so good. One time so I was, one quick story about being in the South, and this was in my late 20s. So like about 12-ish years ago, I was living in Huntsville. My dad had just passed, and I got a job at a local publicly traded company. I won't say which one, but they're out there, and they do like system router stuff. And while I'm there, everyone was everyone who worked with me was just either mostly white and a few black people, like just the breakdown of it. And there was a few Indians here and there, but they're all in engineering, and I was in marketing, like in the business side. So I was all the C-level people. They're all kind of like, they're all white. And there's this one guy
walks in the first day. They're like, "Are you in the right place, man?"
Yeah,
yeah, they were.
My computer's working good.
Mystified.
But
And one time, this guy asked me to come to lunch. He was like, it's a church group that we meet for lunch in some conference room, and we're all part of the same church and we work at the same company, so we have lunch. So I show up, and we'll all have our salads and then whatever. And then the guy who invited me just started the Bible reading. He had printed out Bible reading, and now he tricked me. He kind of told me what it is, and I'm me. I'm with it. Let's do it. Like he's a nice guy, so I was like, he's not gonna whatever. And he and we had to read these passages one by one by line, like while we're doing lunch. And when it got to me, it was just too awkward for me, because there was one line. I did one of them. I did one of the lines, and it was about anger. The whole thing was about anger. Like the passage in the Bible was about anger. I don't remember which one. And it got to me, and I don't know if he's planned it that way, but it was just like, I don't want to say this out loud. So I just didn't say anything. And there was like 20 seconds of the most intense, the worst feeling you can have in a room.
You didn't say no thank you?
I didn't say nothing. I was just like, and I kind of looked at it, and I kind of looked at them, and I looked back, and it was like a pure stare off. It was an Indian outlaw stare off. The old style. And I didn't budge. And they're like, okay, we can just move on. You can go to the next passage. And I was like, all right. But they don't mean, they're good people. They just don't mean, they just don't know no better.
No, they think you're going to hell. They literally are trying to do something that is very desperate in their minds.
Yeah, but I can't undo that. I'm not.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do there. The fire's already caught.
No, you can. You just accept Jesus into your heart. Tushar, Trey, I've asked you, I created this whole podcast to proselytize to both of you.
Yeah, honestly, that's another thing that I've mostly avoided somehow. I know that they be doing that, but I guess I'm just not worth their time or trouble.
No.
Trey had a shirt that said genius, but it was spelled wrong. That was a joke. But they didn't know it was spelled wrong because they were too dumb. So they just thought he was walking around with a shirt that said genius on it. That's why they weren't approaching you.
That's a true story. That actually happened. Yeah, some of them got the joke and understood it, but some of them, they were like, they're like, that is, of course you would wear that shirt, because they didn't realize that it was spelled wrong. It's like, you think you're so hot shit. You think you're smarter than everybody else or whatever. It's like, it's fucking spelled wrong. But
I've been on the other side of that, where I have proselytized. Only person I really did it to, though, was my grandfather. Because as I understood the concept of hell, and that became very real to me at like 9 or 10, the first thing I pinpointed, like almost like the next day, was like, hey, Mom and Dad, what about him? And it was like, yeah, he's never made a profession of faith, as we call it. And so, like, I was on him, son. And that was like,
was he a bad person, or he just didn't accept
he just
the Lord?
Didn't go to church, and he never really said that he like was a Christian or like believed in Jesus or any of that. He'd been to a bunch of wars.
Way to annoy a war vet.
Yeah. Well, I wrote him a letter one time and he cried. All I said was, I just, I hope you're in heaven with me. I was like 9. But he eventually did, not because of me, but because of a cousin of mine. Like my grandfather actually like started going to church at the end of his life, making his peace, which what a way to do it, son. Just whore banging, whiskey drinking, Nazi killing, and then at the very end, my bad, boys. See you on the other side.
Both my whore banging and whiskey drinking papaws, respectively, 2 of them. Neither one of them got right with the Lord before their hearts exploded. But I don't give a shit because none of that's real. But like, yeah, if you're gonna, that's a solid way to play it. I ain't gonna front. My mama never went to church, and now she does. And I mean, I get it. That's fine with me.
God punished her with a gay kid,
I had, yeah, I know. I guess they just sort of avoid that subject. But I had girlfriends and stuff over the years who would like try to drag me to church with them, and I don't think that ever happened more than once. I would like eventually relent and go. But then I would be there and just like openly scoffing at shit the preacher was saying, like loudly in a way that everybody could hear. You know what I mean? Just like like shit like that in the middle of the sermon. Yeah. And they would be mortified, and then we'd have a big blow up argument, and then that would be the end of that. And typically shortly thereafter, also the relationship. But I never had any sincere efforts at saving my soul, which again, I guess says a lot about me and the quality of my soul, which is fine. I'm just one of them trash queers, you can't do nothing with them, so why even try?
Well, that's the thing about it. You don't want people to bother you, but you want to be wanted. You know what I mean? It's like if a guys are catcalling a bunch of girls and being disgusting, and then they just don't catcall one. Like that can't feel good. You just reminded me though. I did like when I started seeing girls, I would involve them, but that was just. This is so goddamn funny. That was just because. Like, I remember having sex with my girlfriend after church because mom and dad had stuff to do. It was the only time I could be alone in the house with her. Was dad had to like glad hand and, kiss the babies. And then mom had to clean up the church. And, and we lived right next door to the church. I had about a solid 30 minutes, son. I could get 2 off. You know what I mean?
Well, the good Lord intended. That's right.
Yeah.
I had my biggest proselytizing came from an Indian girl who was like Catholic from like they're like the whole group of people who are Catholic from colonization pretty much. But
Catholics got around for sure.
Catholics got around, and she would like, if I said like God damn it, she'd be like, don't say that. The Lord came in vain, don't say that. I was like, God damn it. That's so frustrating.
Yeah. Did she tempt you into getting saved?
She did not, but she did take me to church a few times, Catholic church, and I couldn't get up for communion, which I thought was very rude.
Get it up.
I didn't get that body. I didn't get that body in my body. And I thought it's just so stupid. Knowing what the church does as an institution, like, they're like landowner rapist people.
Sure are.
With great architecture. Great
architecture. Good paintings too. I love God's old shit.
Yeah.
When it comes to art, his old shit's great. At some point, I feel like he sold out because all his new modern day shit ain't it. Like none of it works at all. Like
God's NFTs don't hit.
No. Any of God's recent art sucks, which is a shame because his old shit was like the best in the game.
Yeah. Now listen, we don't agree with him murdering everybody on Earth, but the art was good back then. You know what I mean? You just got to separate the art from the artist, and his art was good. I used to have a joke back in the day. I just remembered about the line was something like it was basically about how sex and having sex after church is what opened my eyes to how ridiculous it all was. Cause it was like, I just found something way better. There was some line about God had my heart in his hands, but she had something different in her mouth or something like that.
I've always said this. I think God needs to be treated, or religion needs to be treated like a walking stick or a wheelchair. Like when you need it for a little bit, go in there, recenter, use it what it needs to be. But then eventually you don't want to be in a fucking wheelchair your whole life.
A common sermon from when I was little was God is not a rabbit's foot. Oh, I got some kind of company.
Who's talking about rabbits? All right, let's rate this and go.
Yeah, we're gonna rate it. Let me first of all, it's Thanksgiving. I do like gratitude. I'm grateful for Sawyer Brown, even if they did turn into a bunch of Christians. And I'm gonna give this song 2 Bubbas.
I'll give it 2.25 Bubbas. How about that? Out of 3. It's a fun little ditty,
What are you grateful for this week, Trey? I'm making you say something.
Oh Lord, not just being home with Katie and the boys for a weekend while also getting my fat on heavy because I'm gonna do that because it's okay to do that. So I'm gonna be slaving in that kitchen, boy. Mama Trey baking his ass off, son.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for, and I kind of have to say this because it's my sponsor, white people. And and I give this 2 Earl Hearts.
What was your rating? I missed it.
2. I'll give it 2.
Right,
because too much God stuff. A little too much God stuff.
It was also no story. That was my biggest.
Oh yeah, we said Bubba's, but it is Earnhardt, isn't it?
Earnhardt.
Yeah. Out of 3 Earnhardt. Thank you, Too Sharp, for keeping us straight. All right. Anyway, 2.25 Earnhardts. Okay.
All right.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bubba Shot the Podcast, and that's right, a show about country at its height. Don't expect no shit from 2005. Bubba Shot the Podcast, and that's right.